Hello, hello. Welcome. It's been a long time since I've jumped on a live, so I'm super excited for this. I'm just going to give a little bit of time for people to join. But if you don't know me, my name's Natasha Player, and I'm excited to do lives. I used to do them quite regular, and it's a really great opportunity to us to dive in and have a conversation, a bite-sized conversation around a specific topic. And today's topic is around trust. What I love about these is that I get to talk around a certain area, but it's also a great opportunity for people to jump on and join the conversation. And then we can dive in with people's own personal lived experiences, as well as mine and the work that I do with my clients and organisations that feeds into and makes a juicy discussion. So today's topic is around trust. Whoosh, that's a big one. Welcome. We're just talking about that this week's topic is around trust. These conversations are going to go on every Thursday at 6 o'clock. I've made a commitment to make these happen, and I used to love doing these as bite-sized conversations, and they dropped off the radar, and I'm bringing them back again. So what's wonderful is if people join in the conversation, and if they don't want to, well, the best way is in the comments, and then we'll see where we go from there. So trust, whoosh, that is a big one. I wanted to start with trusting ourselves. It's been coming up a few times with the clients that I work with when we're looking at diving into their business and seeing where they want to take it. They're thinking about big ideas, they're thinking around where they can go next. And so then they start to commit with this big idea. And then what they're saying that comes up, which I found really intriguing, it's around trusting myself. So when I kind of dive deeper into that, it's around you've come up with this amazing business idea or next product or next offer, service that you want to offer your clients, or work in a new area. Maybe you've got a career and you want to go for a new job opportunity and you feel that it's higher than you have ever gone for before. And so trust comes up. So can I trust myself? The easy one is, can I trust myself to apply for this? Can I trust myself to follow through? So first of all, you're committing to the idea, and we say, hell yeah, I'm going to go for this. You know, it's easy for in that moment to go, yeah, that sounds brilliant, I'm really up for that. Then when it comes to actually taking action and following through, then we start to get the critic that comes in and kind of starts to, that good old word of sabotage, kicks in and then can either deter us from trusting our initial instinct of this is what's good for me, this is what I want to do, this feels right, I'm in alignment with this decision. Trust kind of goes out the window. So it's really, you know, how do we trust ourselves? How do we trust ourselves to follow through, to make that commitment? It might be every day going for a run, for example, and then you get cozy in the morning, especially at the moment, and you don't trust yourself and you get in and you stay cozy. You know, it can be as simple as that, to creating a new product, a new idea. How can I, how can I trust myself to follow through with those big ideas, with that promotion that I really want to go with? And it comes up quite a lot, I feel, with creatives. Welcome, everybody. So we're talking about trust and how it comes up for us as creatives or entrepreneurs, and how we commit to ourselves and those big ideas and follow through with that by committing. And so if we are committing to it, how do we trust ourselves more? Sabotage is going to come in. Sabotage is going to kind of steer us off. How do we stay on point, focused around trusting ourselves to commit and follow through with those big ideas? It's a big thing. If you've ever experienced it yourself, I'd love to hear what kind of tools and tips that you've come up with around how you deal with it, or how it actually, the sabotage comes up. Because what will happen is that we'll stall that big idea, we'll stall making it happen. And so then it either disappears because we haven't put any commitment and energy into it, or it will come back if it's really meant to at a different time when we're stronger at trusting our ideas and where we want to take them. I'd love to hear your views on that as well. Another part of what I feel comes up is around trusting others. And trusting others I find quite intriguing because it comes up, I'm in a mastermind with other entrepreneurs, and we talk around trusting our teams and trusting handing over our work. If you've been a solopreneur and you've done things a lot for yourself, and then you want to build your capacity and build your team, then are you able to trust your team to deliver? Sometimes we have very high expectations of how we do things, and will they be able to do the same? So what came up for one of my clients was they didn't trust themselves and also to be able to hand over because they didn't feel that they were professional enough. Their systems and their processes of how they were doing, and they were a very successful business, they didn't feel were professional enough. And I was like, but it's working for you. So even though you're bringing new people in to learn your processes and systems, they can also bring new things to the table as well. So it's around being to be able to trust and open up and hand over whatever the state of affairs. We can have that conversation and transparency around, this has worked for me, but it'd be really interesting what they can bring to the table. And quite often I've found that team members that I've worked with is that when I've opened up, that they will bring a wealth of approaches, processes, resources, creativity to the table to help me and my business build, and whether that's marketing, whether that's within internally, whether that's connections that they have. And I think it's, how do we nurture that relationship to be able to trust more of our teams? So a question that's come up as well is when the shit does hit the fan and it does go wrong, and you say you've stepped away and gone on holiday, and then you've come back and your team has really messed up, and you feel like you can't even trust your team because you've been away and you've left it in their hands. You've got to kind of realise that things will go wrong. I'm sure when we're a solopreneur, things have gone wrong and they haven't quite worked out. How have we dealt with that? How have we pivoted and been kind to ourselves or our team to be able to bring them forward as well? I think there's a question there around how we nurture our team members for us to be able to hand over. The more I've found when I've worked with CEOs is that the more they've handed over the trust and democratized power, then those team members have run on with it and come up with amazing things and delivered more to their performance, more to their capacity, because they've been given the reins to do that and the trust to do that. So I think there's a huge thing around how we trust our teams and what it is as leaders, as creative leaders, as entrepreneurs, we trust ourselves to be able to then let go of aspects of what we do. It's really tricky if you are the founder and it's your baby, I know that certain CEOs that I've known of in my industry that have stayed in their position forever and ever and ever, and they, from top down, it's delivered. That is a format, that is a structure, but it's also what's the performance like that's going on for the staff, the human beings that are working there. How many days off do they have, I wonder. So trust is a huge thing. It's really personal. It's a personal journey that happens with ourselves around what our commitment is to ideas and our next step challenges, and taking ourselves out of that comfort zone to develop, to move forward, whatever that driver is, whether that's you want to win awards, whether that's you want to get a career promotion, whether that's setting up a new business, or doing something slightly different to what you've done before. You've really got to dig in with the trust and nurture that, because what will happen is that you'll get tested along the way. I don't know if that's an experience that you've had before around once you've started your business idea and you've committed to it, then the test comes in. It's like the universe knows that you've gone, oh, you want to do that, do you? So what happens when you get tested is like pitfalls, different things start to happen that to go wrong to really test your commitment. I don't know, tap in the notes in the comments if that's ever happened to you. Even if you're watching this on replay, please put #replay and let me know when you've been tested and if that's something true for you. But I know that like even me doing this live was, it's been a while, like I said, and just getting all the equipment ready. And then there was a couple of things that I didn't have and I had to go and get them from where they usually are. And it was almost, I had to do that a couple of times. And so it was almost like, you really want to do this live? That's just a simple thing that happens. Some of the time what happens when we kind of go for our creative ideas and we put them out there, you might not get the capital that you need. The bank might say no. The other income stream that you were searching for or pitching to, the door may close. You may go to different people and they're not interested or they don't get your idea. And so it's around how you cultivate your self-belief and trust yourself, because we do get tested. We get tested once we step out of the norm. And so how are we cultivating that to be able to enable us to keep growing and taking more risks? Because it's in the risk taking that we grow. We grow within our businesses, we learn more, but it's also we grow in our personality and we also grow in our vibrational level as well, which is a completely different area. But the more we trust ourselves, our staff teams and the universe, magic can happen. And that sounds a little bit woo-woo, but I think that is a force, an energetic force that's going on as well, especially in the entrepreneurial world. It's being talked about more and more around energy and how energetics work as well. So it's trusting that things are going to be all right, even if you're stepping out and doing something completely different to your previous identity. How do you trust yourself and how do you trust that everything's going to be okay? I would love to hear what your thoughts are around your tips and tools around how you trust yourself, how you trust the universe, and how you trust others, especially when things go wrong, because that's when we get triggered the most, and can think around how do we stay grounded and open to working through and navigating the sticky, icky stuff. And so then I think that leads on to quite nicely around how do we keep grounded? How do we create the right environment for us to trust all those aspects that I was talking about? How do we ensure that we can trust our teams? I've touched on that, but really how do we trust ourselves to keep making the right decisions, that we don't get wavered and self-sabotage as well and put things off. Sometimes you might be in a flow and you're really trusting the universe and you're staying open. So what were those golden nuggets that you created? What was that environment that you created? I'd love to know. Some of the things I feel that have resonated with the people I either work with in a creative business and strategy sense is that we work on strategy and we work on steps and action plans, and we also work on mindset to be able to do that. But if you don't have that opportunity to work with somebody as a mentor or as a coach or to strategize with your business, there are tips and tools that we can do for ourselves. Very much is about coming home to your core and to your root. Where do you feel most safe? It's around safety a lot of the time, around how we trust. And so where do you feel safe? What is that feeling that you have that enables that safety to open up and feel grounded, to be able to keep taking that step forward? Some people will go into a cocoon and you know, a little cave, and then once they've processed everything, they'll come out of that cave and go, okay, let's go for it again. And that's almost like what I'm doing with this life. And I didn't realise that. And so, you know, it's around how we create that safety. So about going back to your core, it's also about how we observe our thoughts, what kind of thoughts come up for us. It's a big thing. Sometimes, you know, by stepping back and sitting quietly around observing what thoughts come up. So if we are triggered in a situation and something goes wrong, what thoughts are coming up, and can we have the discipline to observe them and not necessarily respond by throwing all our toys out the pram and, you know, kicking off at our staff, you know, our team or the people that we work with or our co-workers, and how we respond in a healthy way that still keeps them grounded as well, and ourselves. So what is your safe place? What is your core? Are you able to observe the words, the patterns, the thoughts that are coming up, to be able to respond healthily? And if we just do that as a personal journey, I think is a really good tool to kind of see when we do get triggered and how we respond without responding, and, you know, giving yourself that kind of space to be able to respond and not just react. And so what happens in time is we observe those thoughts. We then get to know ourselves a bit better and understand what some of the trust challenges are and where they stem from. Sometimes, you know, you might need to see a therapist. That's not me. But it's kind of, you know, there are those options out there if there are a lot of trust issues in relationships. And, you know, like I said, trust is a huge boom. So we're trying to keep it to being an entrepreneur in business, but it will come through with our personal selves and reflected in our business. So it's looking at the different tools that we need. If it is detrimental or it's something that you want to explore deeper, then yeah, therapist is fantastic to go and work on that. And there's some super therapists out there. It feels like a minefield. I know that I've really got a lot out of transactional analysis, and that's really grounded kind of therapy as well. But there's lots of different forms out there that may be suited to you to look at if you have got trust issues. But I think when we focus more on just observing and then witnessing when we're being triggered, we can learn quite a lot from self-inquiry. I'm a firm believer and have done years of self-inquiry. Sometimes, you know, I'm realising now that it's better to be kind instead of critiquing. You know, that's not always helpful, but I suppose it strives us to be better humans. But let's see where, you know, the trust challenges come up. When are we kind of committing to an idea, and then we're starting to trust ourselves, going, okay, I'm going to commit, I trust I'm going to do this every day, or I really want to strive for X, I trust myself, I've committed. Then once we go on that journey, what challenges come up that kind of stop us, and can we work through them and observe them? And one of the questions I find is actually, if it does come up, is to say, is this true? Is this true? So the people that were saying around, I'm not professional enough, my response is this true? You know, to what extent those systems and processes have been working for you really well. So you are professional to your standard of where you are. It's social and professional constraints that what professional means. You know, and you can build that into your own values and your ethos around working and how you want to be treated, and how you wish to treat others and who you want to work with, etc., which will then open up a better relationship of trust as well. Where is that going? You've got to bear with me, it is at the end of the day. So yeah, it's a really interesting area, I feel, talking about trust and where it resonates and when it comes up in our day-to-day, when the kind of conversations we're having and how we're responding to that. Are we staying open-hearted and going with that, or are we kind of closed and keeping all of our own eggs, our own thinking in our basket? It happens a lot when we go into the professional world, when you go and work for a large organisation, if you work in specific industries, there can be a lot of mistrust. And so I find that it's through having dialogue and conversation, starting with ourselves and then with our team or with our other stakeholders, partners, and just having that conversation. If there are things that haven't been said in the room and it needs to be expressed, a better trust and understanding comes through opening up that dialogue. That's why I love to have conversations on here and people dive in and put their statements and comments on here. Yeah, it's just reminded me of some of the people that used to come on. Hello, Chippo. How are you? Great to see you on here. And so it's really interesting, I find, when we dive into that trust and how it resonates with us, whether it resonates with our own personal journey or whether that resonates with the people that we work with and that we surround ourselves with, or the industry that we work in as well, and how we move forward in that. And so I feel it's really about cultivating trust and creating the right environment for us to feel safe and feel comfortable to be able to ask the right questions, sometimes to challenge situations, but it's also about being kind and nurturing ourselves and the people that we come into contact with. Yes, so there is trust in a nutshell. I don't know if that's really possible, but there's lots of aspects to trust, and I just kind of wanted to touch on it around how we cultivate it. Another aspect I think that comes into how do we cultivate it and create the right environment when we're working, and not just with ourselves, is that we can put strategies in place, planning. You can also have regular conversations with your team. And hey Tia, really good to see you. It's been a while, my dear. I hope you're well. And loving your work at the moment, seeing it out there again. And so we're doing that big thing around trust and just kind of wrapping it up really around how to create the right environment for us to feel safe, to trust ourselves when we commit, to trust our teams when we engage with them and the shit hits the fan, when things go wrong. What do we do? You know, there's, like I said, there's examples from the groups that I'm in and the clients that I work with. How do they hand things over when they have a specific perfection standard? What I honestly find is that when we do trust our teams and we hand over our work, that they come in with so much new ideas, energy. The more we trust, the more I've observed chief execs, artistic directors hand over to their teams, then they run with it. They get so much when they democratize power. It's a really strong thing to hand over and trust, because there's enough room for everybody. There's enough room for growth. There's enough room to support. Okay, when we work in large organisations, you know, when I've worked with groups that are 50, 100, 200, more staff teams, then communication can be a challenge. And I think that is what is really key about connecting better. Whether we connect with ourselves better as individually, as leaders, whether that's as a solopreneur, whether that's with a large team. And then looking at the bigger teams, communication is still vital. Communication, how do we communicate? How does the information get passed down? How does the information come through and shared? And how often do we come together as a collective and work on challenges? Work on the things that aren't being said and that aren't being addressed. How do we build more trust within larger industries? How do we build trust in those huge organisations that are out there? Because the trust goes and then performance drops. And what I've found is whether that's a micro organisation or a bigger organisation, the more we democratise power and hand over trust, then the better the performance everybody gets. And it's less to do on one person's shoulders. You know, the more we share it out, then it's a collective. I'd be really interested to hear people's different thinking and the different environments that they've worked in around trust within their everyday work or everyday lives. So it starts with one. It starts with ourselves, and it starts with trusting ourselves. It's trusting the commitment and the decisions that we make, but it's then also around how we share the trust, how we pass on trust to our teams and individuals, and the kind of relationships that we have with each other to be able to build better understanding and trust with one another. Love to hear your thoughts. I think that's so much information. Hi Ellie, nice to hear from you from Senegal. Wonderful. I hope all is well. I would love for you to drop in any comments that you have, whether you're watching it on the replay, #replay, or live now, around your experience of trust, whether that's trusting yourself, whether that's trusting the teams that you're building and working with and how you hand over responsibility, or whether that's within your industry as well. I think it's great to kind of share knowledge. I don't have all the answers. I've just got my kind of take, my lived experience and my observations through the work that I've done. And we're all learners. Yeah. Good to speak to you all. Lots of love, and keep trusting, keep going for it, keep breaking the mold and disrupting where you can, and be kind. Take care. How do I stop this? I've done this for so long.